Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Wiener, for those of you who don't know me. I have the honor of serving in the California State Senate. I represent San Francisco and part of San Mateo County, right to the south of San Francisco. And I am about to be joined by two amazing members of our LGBTQ community. We are in Pride Month. We want to celebrate virtually Krieger and Ashlyn Harris. They will be here momentarily. And I'm really looking forward to our discussion tonight because although we can't celebrate Pride in person today, we can celebrate it digitally, and that's what we are doing. And so we will be joined momentarily. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful Pride season. It is a Pride that really reminds us about how Pride started. With a riot at Stonewall and Compton's Cafeteria in San Francisco and the Black Cat in LA. And Pride was a protest against police brutality, among other things. So what's happening today in the world with a demand for racial justice and an end to police brutality, it really aligns well with how Pride started. And so that is a good thing because we can recommit to the fight. I think we're just waiting for Allie and Ashlyn. They're on Ashlyn's uh, uh, Instagram account. There they are.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. This whole split screen thing.
I love it. I
It
know.
mushes us
Happy
down.
Pride,
Happy Pride.
You
everyone.
too. Happy Pride. I was just talking about how, even though it's a tough Pride this year, that given how Pride started with a riot against the police for police brutality, what's happening now is sort of, the fight happening now for racial justice aligns with how Pride started. So it's a good thing. How are you doing?
We're hanging in there.
Yeah, happy
We're-
about today. We have a
Yeah.
lot to celebrate, that's for sure, but still a heavy time, and
Mhm.
we're just having a lot of dialogue, and we're talking a lot about really tough topics and
Educating ourselves,
educating.
listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking to the right people and figuring out how we can be of service to, people in the Black community and our trans, Black women, anything we can do to continue to fight and be better people and educate the people around us and our families and encourage people to vote, 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 vote,
I know
vote.
November can't come soon enough.
I know. Well, now I've noticed on your, because I've been following you on Instagram. I love your pages. You've been, I think, really elevating Black voices on your Instagram page. Some really amazing posts. Can you just talk about that? About what is, what inspired you, who you're working with, because it's been really powerful.
Well, Abby Wambach had reached out to us, who was one of our former teammates on the national team, and her wife, Glennon Doyle, obviously, and three other friends had decided to start this
Share the mic now.
Share the mic now, this campaign that's super important to amplify Black voices, and taking over 50 white women's platforms and voices and educating us and talking to us about Black lives and the community and speaking out against racism and how to be actively anti-racist. And I think it's super important for us just to kind of take a back seat, sit and listen and be educated and understand, how to pass the mic to Black women and how powerful they were to use their voice and to, amplify them and have an opportunity for them to kind of teach us and educate us. And it was really powerful. And I think,
I think the greatest lesson is always storytelling. And to be able to lend your platform to hear stories of systematic racism. I mean, all these things that these activists and influential women go through. And I think it put a lot in perspective. I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even looking through the replies, it was almost like people woke up. I think during this time, people have had their blinders just revealed. It's like we're opening people's eyes to something that we knew was going on, but we really didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how bad it was, or we chose not to know how bad it was. So I think, you know, sharing the mic was just a way to give these incredible women our platform
Mm-hmm.
to storytell and share tough experiences, to bring our audience in and almost feel their pain a little bit and feel what they've had to go through and what they're fighting for, you know, every single day. So it was so impactful.
And what we need to do.
Yeah, and how we
to
can
continue
be
the
better
fight, and how we
to
can
help
be
the
how we can be
situation.
better, especially as white women who do have this platform that we do. So it was great. I absolutely loved it. I learned so much, and it was incredible.
It was very inspiring, and we're continuing to just educate ourselves and have really tough conversations with our friends who are both black and white, and how we can serve, our community in a better way.
Yeah, and one of the beautiful things about the protests that have been happening, and I've been happy to say that the ones I've gone to in San Francisco has been 100% mask wearing. So that's a good thing. People are fighting for justice and also being responsible about health. But the diversity of who's coming, right? That it is more and more, because as LGBTQ people, we know that we need our straight allies to get
Yes.
and be there and look in the mirror and understand their own maybe homophobia from the past that they're trying to lose. And I think as for white people to step up and say, this is unacceptable, that is part of the equation. And so the diversity of these protests, I think, has been inspiring if it lasts, right? And I think it's great when, for people like us to also hear, hey, what's going to happen in 3 months? Are you going to still be with us in 3 months, 6 months, a year? And that's important. So Friday was a tough day with the fourth anniversary of Pulse, and then also with the can I curse? Is it okay if I curse a little bit?
Yeah.
The jackass in the White House. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I find that filtered.
Right.
Jackass is pretty low key for that
Yes.
guy. Taking away healthcare protections for trans people. Although we're lucky in California, we still have state level healthcare protections. But I know you're really you were living in. I think were you living in Orlando when
I was.
She
yes.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was Friday like for you? You have a personal connection to this horrific tragedy.
Yeah, it hits home so much. Like this is my home. Central Florida is where I was born and raised, and um it's been like a really difficult thing for this city, and I have so much, like, it's this feeling, it's very heavy. I feel very heavy this week. Like I keep remembering that week of events of what happened in this city and how it affected and shook us to our core. And it was a really, really difficult time here. It was a really difficult time. And it opens up all these new feelings, and I've been trying to like process them a bit. And I felt really taken care of by our team. Our team went Thursday, the day before, and it was a time for us to kind of just share. Like I was telling stories and where I was when this happened and the people I leaned on and the places I went to just, cry and sulk and be with my community. And I think it really affected a lot of my teammates who are our allies, but they weren't here, but they got to feel my pain a little bit. And I thought that was really a special moment, and I felt really supported and taken care of. And yeah, I think it's hard because usually we have a big memorial at Pulse, and we had to do that virtually this year. So it's just like, it's been a tough few days. I find that I'm like a little lost for words because it is such a heavy subject. But what I will say is this community has shifted, and there has been a big change. And I know there's nothing really positive to ever take out of a senseless act like that. But I do think it changed this city, and it changed a lot of people and older people within the city, and a lot of business owners. It became way more accepting. You know, churches were opening up and, you know, creating a safe space for our community who otherwise were very shut off to it. So I think it not only became an LGBTQ thing, it became a city thing. And with that, we did gain a lot of allies, and we did gain a lot of support. And I am proud of how we as a city have responded to it, and how we brought so much love and hope back to the city after such a tragedy. And even with like our team, we have, you know, 49 rainbow seats in our stadium. So it's a remembrance every time we step on the field that there is a bigger purpose, and that we are playing for those, you know, we call them angels. So it has been a heavy week, but like
But the memorial was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And everyone came, and the team was so supportive, and the city has been so supportive. The club has been so supportive. So it's nice to represent a city and a club that really cares about you.
Yeah, that's good. We had a live remembrance, so we were maybe a little naughty from the health perspective, but it was important to bring people together. And there were a couple guys who were from Orlando who organized it, and they put the call out, and there were hundreds of people there. People really showed up because they were worried that the last couple of years it had dwindled, and so they got it ripped up again. So for people just joining, I'm State Senator Scott Wiener, and a California State Senator. I represent San Francisco and part of San Mateo County. I am joined by the amazing Krieger and Ashlyn Harris, our World Cup champions, icons in the community. And I have to say, ever since we announced this, I have a lot more lesbians who are following me on Instagram, which is awesome. I want more and more lesbians, because remember, during when gay guys, you know, but for the grace of God, were dying in the 80s and 90s, there were so many women, lesbians, who stepped up to save people's lives, to help people die with dignity. So this is a community that is so interconnected. So this is your first Pride as a married couple, right?
Yes.
Is that exciting?
Well, not this way.
Not this way.
But it's not exactly the first year of marriage I was hoping for, but can only get better from here.
We can still fight for, you know, equality, and this is so exciting to kind of have each other's backs and hold each other accountable to continue the fight and to continue to use our platforms for good and to share our voices as much as we can. So I always know that she supports me and I support her, and we have each other through it all. So that's something that has been amplified, I think, this year for us.
That's great. Yeah, it's probably not the first year that you envision between the pandemic and this nightmare with the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and we're seeing once again more and more Black trans women being
14 this year. 14 trans deaths this year, so it's terrible.
And so we're trying to do some work in California around sort of decriminalization, so that because Black trans women get criminalized a lot and are often scared to even go to the police because they think they're going to be criminalized. And so we're trying to create a better environment so that people actually feel safe reporting crimes, right? So it's hard though, because there's such a terrible history between law enforcement and the trans community, but it's like one step at a time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are some of the LGBTQ issues that you're most passionate about? There's so much going on in our community and so many needs. But what are some of the things that you really like to focus on?
Gosh, we talk about this all the time. We could be here all night. But I think just the forefront right now, we're definitely, making sure our Black trans women at this point
Mhm.
are taken care of. And Ali and I have had conversation after conversation, especially her brother is in the community as well, and how we can just protect like our trans women and, you know, continue to fight for our rights across the board. I know, like, even today, just having a conversation with my agent, like, I just get so upset that I feel so unsure and so unsafe a lot of times. And, like, I just want to have the same things that a heterosexual couple would have. I don't want to be fearful of anything. Like, equality across the board is a non-negotiable for us. And even Trump last week just throwing another dagger, it's just like I'm almost tired of waking up wondering what will be next.
Mhm.
And in 2020, I can't believe I even have to think about that or have that conversation. So there's days I feel really scared. There's, today I was, my agent's one of my best friends, and I just want to feel hopeful again. Like, I want to feel like we're taken care of, like I want to feel safe. And yeah, I just want equality across the board. That's just a non-negotiable thing for me.
Yeah. I think the other piece of it is the equality in the laws, but then also the economic issues, like almost
Mhm.
half of homeless youth are
Mhm.
LGBTQ, and just all the, we get so disproportionately impacted. But anything bad happens, like COVID or otherwise, tragically, Black people get just so disparately impacted because of all the inequities in society, but LGBTQ people as well. And the homelessness is a real problem. And there's a
Mhm.
group I saw in Orlando.
Zebra
Zebra,
Coalition.
yeah. Do you work with them?
Yes, shout out.
What do they do, and what's their website if people want to support them?
We don't, do you have the website? We would probably have
Yeah,
to post a.
yeah, we can post it on our
I have it
social.
here.
It's the Zebra Coalition
It's zebrayouth.org.
or zebrayouth.org. Yeah. We went to one of their events when I first moved to Orlando, and it was so incredible. Just taking care of our homeless LGBTQ youth here in Orlando, and it's such a great organization, and we need to, reach out to them again and see if we can do
Continue
anything,
connecting.
especially now, just to continue our connection with them because it's so important. For our LGBTQ youth here in Orlando to feel safe and, wanting to continue to, live a fulfilled life and live happy and feel free. And it's so important for us to, what we can do, as public figures here in Orlando specifically, to help them. And
I think
we'll reach back out. And
I think another big thing with when you ask about how we're serving like our community, Ali and I are heavily into mental health, addiction, depression, suicide. All of these things are so prevalent in our community from top to bottom. And I know Ali does a lot with like anti-bullying campaigns, and I just feel that pain for a lot of our youth who don't understand, because all of us have been there. And when I was very unsure about a lot of things, I didn't have social media in my face. I didn't have people outing me before I was ready to be out. And I just feel it's so important that we continue to take care of our youth and help them. And that's across the board. Like, bring, our community, bring a safe place for people to truly be themselves. And I feel like with what we do in soccer and what we do with mental health, we always let people know, like fans, supporter groups, like this is a safe space where soccer brings us together, where we can be who we want to be and represent who we want to represent. And I feel like having that sense of community is so key. It's always been more than just the game for Allie and I. It's really creating a safe space where people, you know, after games, people will come up and in 2 minutes be able to be like, you know, your story and being vulnerable and being able to talk about hard topics has actually saved my life. And this can range from 40-year-olds to 15-year-olds. It doesn't matter, anything in between. And I think, you know, when we talk about what we want to do is just, we want to create a safe space where people can feel safe and taken care of to be themselves and let them know that like they are okay.
And you know, speaking of this, because you are amazing role models, especially for younger people. And I know I was a swimmer in high school, but other than that, I've definitely not been an athlete. I tried a whole bunch of things, just didn't work. And I'm 6'7", so they always wanted me to play basketball, but that was like, you didn't want to see that whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I was always followed, you know, the especially, you know, back in the day, I'm going to date myself, you know, in the 90s in particular, like the rumor of the you know, closeted athlete, and a lot of times you have like guys that would come out after they were already retired, but then there was always, it seemed like, some tension within women's sports, that there were people that they didn't want, they were terrified that women's sports would be labeled as lesbians, and so there was a lot of bullying and horrible stuff. I know it's changed from back when I was, you know, first coming out and out in the 90s. But I'm just curious, what's your take on like the state of being an out athlete today, whether in professional sports or college sports or high school sports? How do you see that going and trending? And what is your advice for young LGBTQ athletes?
I think it's obviously getting better, because Ash and I felt so comfortable about coming out last March as a couple, engaged couples. So I do feel like we felt like it was more accepting. I think obviously it can always be more, and but I do think it's getting better. I hope that, you know, our youth, our LGBTQ youth who are feeling the same as we did, a little bit nervous and fearful about coming out because we were afraid to like lose our jobs, and we were afraid to lose sponsorships, and yeah, and I think that once we did make that step together, I think it like opened up so many new doors, and there's just like happiness that exuded from both of us and our life. And I think that it was the best thing that we could have ever done, because it was kind of like a freeing feeling that now we can give our friends, family, organization, club, teammates, everything we have, and not feel like we were holding back. So I think that now we're giving the fans, supporters, you know, everyone in our life, everything that we have. And I felt like before that we were kind of not hiding, but it was like, yeah, we were at like an arm's distance, and we didn't feel like ourselves completely. So I would say to, you know, athletes who are, you know, fearful or scared, that there's so much happiness when you do truly speak your truth and your authenticity and who you are. And I also think that you will save someone's life if you do, because you are just continuing to be a part of the solution, and you are opening up so many doors and opportunities for other individuals. And it could be your closest friends who may not even know that, you know, you will inspire them to want to live their truth. So I think that obviously there could be, you know, more acceptance all around. But I think we just took this step together, and I think it was really powerful for us in our life and for our friends and family and our teammates to see that, and also sponsorships and our employers to see that, and how much support we got was incredible. And I don't know why now we waited so long. Yeah. So if I could go back I think we would have done it
A lot
a
sooner.
lot sooner.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
what I will say, it is way more accepted to come out
Mhm.
as females than our like
Yeah.
male counterparts. So I think we don't talk about that enough,
Mhm.
and I don't think we advocate enough about that. And my hope, just like you spoke about, a lot of these athletes come out after their career is over. And it makes me feel sad that it's that hard, even though I just came out a year ago. Like, I get it. But my hope is we become so, like, we're way more accepting for men to have a safe space where they're not fearful in the locker room or fearful of their safety. I really hope that we can change, that dialogue and the perspective that people find that not okay.
Yeah, it's I guess every profession has its trajectory because for like elected officials, I'm very lucky as a gay man who is a state senator, and of course I represent San Francisco, which makes it a little bit less challenging. But it wasn't that long ago where when Harvey Milk, who represented the district that I represented when I was on the board of supervisors in San Francisco, he predicted his own death. He predicted that someone was going to kill him.
Right.
And we still see the way that LGBTQ elected officials are often treated and harassed and online bullying. So but we all move in a positive direction. So we're getting a few questions online. So maybe do a few.
Okay.
One question is, have you ever been discriminated against together in public? How have you handled it? Ever been or mistreated in some way, or
I would say one of the most recent things is when we were looking for a cabin.
Oh. Yes. Not to put our like shit out there, but we just wanted to look into a potential vacation type home, and we think it's so peaceful when you go out in the middle of the forest and you are just like engulfed in nature, and no one's around within like 5 miles and like it just would be so refreshing for us to go get like mental breaks every now and then and just enjoy nature and be kind of in a new space. And we think that's like super refreshing and really important. So we recently were like, I called up this realtor, and we won't say where it was, but called up this realtor, and he was pretty hesitant on the phone after I had said, yeah, my wife and I are looking into this. Like, he was very like, accommodating at the very beginning. And then I said, well, obviously I need to run this by my wife and this and that, and started saying that. And obviously it's just a normal conversation. And that was it. I kind of just like didn't get a real response.
A phone call back.
No phone call back, no text, no nothing.
Canceled our like
appointment the next day to like meet. And so that was just a little discouraging because that has never really happened to us. So that was,
was that in Florida?
Experience.
Was that in Florida?
No. It was another red state close by.
It happens in California too. Everyone thinks we're
That's surprising.
Yeah, people can be crappy sometimes, unfortunately, but we'll keep fighting.
We will.
We have some more questions. Someone is asking about your dogs. You have
they're sleeping right now.
No cameos. No
cameos tonight. It's hard enough to get them in to stay in
Logan's
one place.
peeking over on the couch.
Yeah, they're one of the things during the COVID thing when I do yoga, and so I've been doing online yoga, and it's just so funny when you have the instructor is doing everything and their cat comes walking up and like meet them, or the dog is like barking at them.
I know. That's too good.
Get to know everyone's.
We've had like We've had like videos with our team and the dogs kind of pop in because during quarantine we would have like little workouts and they would just pop in and walk around. It was really funny.
Yeah. So another question is, what is your take, advice you have on like self-care during, in the pandemic and everything else? It's very stressful time. Hopefully stressful in a bad way with the pandemic, in a good way with the demand for racial justice. Tough, but for good reasons. And so someone's asking about how you do self-care. Understanding that we're all super privileged, all of us.
Yeah.
So we
I
have
think
home.
this is such a great question, and I think especially because of what's going on in the world, it's hard to not let it affect you and your sleep and your energy and your connection, and your like center. I find that I've been very like I'm definitely one of those people that I absorb other people's feelings and emotions. So, something Ali and I both have been focusing a lot on lately is meditation. And it's very new and foreign to us, but just to be centered and grounded and just release a lot of what we're holding inside during such a really tough time is pretty much the only thing, getting us through. I know I can say I personally was struggling during this time and I would go days without sleeping. I'm one of those people that I want to change the world now. And if I can't, I'm like, my brain is bing, 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 bing. So it's been difficult for me just to breathe. So I've been working a lot on like breathing techniques to calm myself. And when I get worked up or I can't sleep, I need to come back to my center and refocus and work on my meditation and clear my mind and empty all of that energy that's been heavy on my shoulders. So I know that's something I can speak from that has been new, and it doesn't cost money. I don't have to go anywhere. I kind of turn on a pre-recorded meditation, a guided meditation, and I learned to breathe through really heavy moments and tough times where I feel extremely stressed and overwhelmed.
I think for us too is like, so it was so important. Well, it is so important to just have a routine. And especially during that routine, making sure you're taking time for yourself, whether that be a 10-minute meditation, a 30-minute like break away from everyone and just kind of turn your phone off and just like refocus. I think that is so important for us during this time to kind of just have that moment alone where you can then organize your thoughts and kind of reset and refresh, because everyone's going through it and everyone is, sharing this time, and also reconnecting with friends and family on Zoom. That's been really important for us as well, because you stop to, for an hour or so and you're not just like talking about, what you're doing constantly with each other, or the news. You're just like shooting the shit and you're just enjoying those, moments with your friends and family from home.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I've been FaceTiming with my family. We do big group FaceTimes, which we never do. So it's like creating
exactly.
a new tradition. So a question came in for me. Scott, what initiatives do you do where you can work in a bipartisan way? Everything is so toxic now, and partisan, and part of it is, there's just fundamental disagreements between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and I'm a super, liberal, progressive Democrat. And so my predecessor, who was a very super liberal Democrat, when he handed the baton to me after I was elected, he said, don't forget about the Republicans, because you're going to disagree with them on a million things, but once in a while, it's something you'll agree on. And what I've really learned is not every issue has to be a partisan issue. So I do a lot of work on housing, and there are Democrats and Republicans on both sides of that issue about opposing new housing or wanting to have more housing. And there are some liberal Democrats and conservative Republicans that work together. And even on our issues, I did a bill last year to allow pharmacists to give people PrEP and PEP, which are very powerful, as you know, anti-HIV preventatives that can almost eliminate risk. But a lot of people, particularly in communities of color and outside of urban areas, don't take it, even though they should. And so we're seeing people infected. So we did a bill to say pharmacists can give people PrEP and PEP without a physician's prescription. So people can go in, like they can get a birth control pill, just they can get it easily. And there was a big fight on that bill. And a right-wing Republican in the legislature, a senator, one of my colleagues, we don't agree on that much, but he just loved the bill, and he helped round up Republican support for the bill. So you have to like always remember that don't make assumptions about people. So we do have a question for Allie in particular to just ask someone, how's your brother doing? Inquiring minds.
Oh, he's great. He's on a road trip to go just pick something up that I'm sure you guys will see soon. But he's doing so wonderful, and I'm so proud of him. And we miss him a lot because we haven't been able to see him since quarantine began. So hopefully soon. But he's doing so well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. He's a popular guy. So.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Trying to see if there are some other questions. I think that about covers it. Anything you want to say just about? I mean, today was such an exciting day.
Yes.
Well, how are you? How are you doing? More importantly, we haven't really asked you.
Oh, I'm doing. I feel very privileged. You know, roof over the head.
Yeah.
Have, so many people. We work with a lot of people who are struggling to get unemployment benefits. I, need food from the food bank. I feel super privileged, but it's been we went back into session. The legislature did about a month ago, and it's been very odd. Like we're in the Capitol, and we have so much work we have to do around COVID, around housing and homelessness, around. I'm doing a big mental health addiction bill this year to make sure people can get.
Oh, great! So important.
Wow.
Yeah, and also we're worried that so many small businesses are going to just be obliterated because or they reopen and the restaurant can only do 25% capacity, and I'm really worried about bars and nightclubs, and especially for LGBTQ bars and nightclubs. We know that just like Pulse was a sacred space, these bars are their sacred spaces. I tell a lot of people come out. I'm very worried that they may not be able to reopen, so we're doing some work around that. But it's just weird. We're in the Capitol, and we can't come close to each other. And it's members of the public are now testifying by phone, which is not how it usually.
Right.
But but really focuses you on what's important. And I want to go visit my parents. They're
I know.
81 and 78, and I can't risk it,
Yeah, for sure. That's probably one of the toughest things for us too. Like, it's so hard not to be able to see our family and your grandma and grandpa,
just
mama and
sit
papa
on the driveway.
We have to sit on the driveway and just kind of talk to them from afar. So that's been probably the toughest thing for us as well.
Yeah, well, I thought my parents too. They, my sister and her husband they're hospital physicians in New York City, and so they dealt with a lot in New York. And they have two preteen nephews, and they're amazing. I know they're like the light of my parents' lives. My parents are so in love with their grandsons, and the fact that they can't see. It's just
so tough.
Breaks my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So.
But we appreciate everything you do.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, our community. I think the biggest thing we want to leave everyone with, and the reason why, we wanted to come on, is we have to encourage everyone to vote, and this is going to be so important, and we need good representation, and that's on us. So that's the biggest change I'm hopeful for in the future, is we got to show up.
Mm-hmm.
We have to show up.
We do, and thank you for saying that. I mean, and I know a lot of people are, understandably focused on getting, Trump out of the White House, and that's like job number one. We've got to get rid of that guy, let him just disappear.
Right.
But we gotta, once, when we do that, because I'm confident we will, although we can't take it for granted, we gotta, keep the House, and we gotta take the Senate, because we're gonna have a lot of work to do to fix everything.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then people, a lot of times people forget to vote at the state and local level. And so many of those decisions that affect people's lives, like whether people have health care, or like when we talk about reforming the criminal justice system and stopping the police brutality, Congress can do some things, but that's really about state and local decisions. And so people need to pay attention to who represents them, state and locally. So.
And we can like post stuff too on our social and make sure everyone knows here in Florida, especially being a red state, when those elections are. So we're going to continue to do that and make sure everyone here in our community knows to just, I mean, it is blue in Orlando, but overall in Florida, hopefully we can encourage people to step out and vote.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, great. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for doing a little virtual Pride here. And
yes, happy Pride.
I know, happy Pride.
You too, and best of luck with everything. And again, thank you for inspiring so many people. You really, I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of just being who you are and being out and proud and just being awesome, like that, for especially for kids, for that next generation. Like people see that, and people who, especially if they're not in the greatest situation with their family or at school, or maybe they're being bullied and they're looking for a reason to keep going, and then they see that there are people, like there's a path, that there are people like you who give them hope. So thank you for everything you do. And I want to
thank you for saying that.
I was gonna toast you.
Toast.
First,
Yes.
but
We have water.
we
We have training in the morning, so we're just
I screwed up and I didn't have champagne, so I have a beer. So I'm gonna toast you.
I love that.
Instead of champagne.
Well, I wish I could drink one with you.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers, you guys. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Bye-bye. Happy Pride.
Bye,
guys.